in is past, present, and future. And so to kick us off is former council member Ray Martin.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor White, Councilmember Littlejohn, Councilmember Fleming, and former Councilmember Dillard, Senator Theo Mitchell. Senator Mitchell is in support of this saga not to change to non-partisan elections. City councilmen to sit among all others. When we first started, we had an appointed one, that was Dr. McPherson. That was after the demise of one of the sitting council members. Since then, Dr. McPherson ran for re-election out of that appointed seat and he lost. Why? Because he was running at large. As a result, reapportionment came to the city of Greenville. And here comes Rayfield Metcalf. Rayfield Metcalf was the first city council member to sit. As a result, here comes J.D. Mathis. Then comes Lillian Fleming. This is all because of the onslaught of a person named Theo Mitchell, who was out front to make certain again that reapportionment took hold, that all people would be represented in various jurisdictions throughout our state. And so we have with us now Carl Allen, who holds that seat and is doing a super job for us in making certain that all the political bacon is brought back to the upstate. Thank you. Ralph Anderson. He is sitting home with a family member who is ill, but he told me to tell you that he's in support of our cause to allow this exchange not to go in favor of nonpartisan. That this move to switch to nonpartisan government would make the worst move that we have had in recent memory. What it will do at best is not save money. It will cost money. As we know Greenville, let's keep it intact. As I've stated, no one can suggest that saving money in a political election is a viable cause to go forward with this nonpartisan approach. I work here in the city of Greenville. Many of those people wish that they could reverse that, but it's too late. The powers that be will not allow it. Let's make certain that we keep those plurocrats where they belong. Those interest groups do not belong in our local elections. If we can't run it, they can't run it. Do not allow our local politicians to sell us off to the highest bidder. Thank you.
As we look to our neighbors to the right and to the left of us, it is clear to see that nonpartisan elections have not been successful in those communities where it comes to diversity. If we look at the Malden City Council, with 22.5% African American population, and if we add in their other minority populations, giving them a total of 34.5 over Greenville's population, there is no minority representation on that council. If we look at our neighbors in Simpsonville, 16.4% African American, added with the other minority populations, 27%, there is no minority representation on council, leaving out a valuable voice in those communities. We've done well in Greenville. We believe in inclusivity. We believe in diversity. We have made business investments to diversity. Why would we want to risk that now? And especially without conversation, negotiation, and compromise. Thank you.
I'm Lily Brock Fleming. I'm a member of City Council and I represent District 2 City Council proudly since 1981. And I am here speaking out in opposition because of not only the past, but because of the present. My district has struggled for the last 20 years to maintain diversity in representation because we have become a very diverse community. And there's a lot of exchanging in the community. There's a lot of gentrification, and for those of you who are not familiar, gentrification is when you move out of one race of people and move in another race of people, and basically change the culture and the makeup of the community. So people find these low-income neighborhoods to be wonderful. They want to come in and they want to buy them up, and they're moving people out. So therefore, my district, and as well as District 3, will struggle in the next 10 years or the next few years when we come up with the census paper in order to maintain diversity. I am here because this is a legacy. I am not running for myself. I am not in this position because I'm the greatest person in the world. I'm in this position because I came to represent. We had a problem with the road, and we still have problems with some more roads. But we have problems with other neighborhoods and with all kinds of different things. And I was elected by the people in order to serve. I want the same opportunity for other young people. It is not cheap to run for elections. And therefore, when we have nonpartisan elections, people say it won't cost as much. Yes, it will. There are elections in a lot of places, Columbia, in other places where they spend more money than some of us do on council in order to be elected, and they are nonpartisan. I love Greenville City Council, and I'm on City Council because we have been leaders, not followers. In order to do this part, we're going back to do the same thing that everybody else is doing. There are larger cities in this nation that do not have nonpartisan election. The 5 largest cities in America, 4 of them are still partisan because that works best for the people. It is the most fair way. So I am here because this is a legacy. There has got to be an opportunity for my children, for your children, for other young people who don't have name recognition to be able to run for office and to be successful. The other thing that bothers me is that it's difficult for me to understand that we would change a process. Home rule came in to increase minority participation. And if we vote for nonpartisan, it will decrease minority participation. So we are going backwards instead of forward. That bothers me more. And so I appreciate those of you who are here in opposition because we have got to be continued. Our council has worked so well together with the partisan. We were showing people how it should work. And now we're going to undo that and cause more problems among that particular teamwork and that spirit. Thank you so much.
Well, if you're expecting an eloquent speech, you're not going to get it now. Repeat for that. I am very much honored to be here with such an esteemed group of colleagues and former colleagues. It's a great honor to be here with all of you. And these are people who have served our community so well for so many years, especially here in a southern American city with its own history. One of the hallmarks of this city of Greenville for so many years now is we really do work in a collegial and collaborative way to accomplish big things. And from my vantage point, watching projects of all kinds that have made downtown what it is today, made the city what it is today, I can tell you that having the support, having the confidence, having the goodwill of all of our community has sometimes been the critical factor in making it happen in Greenville. The baseball stadium was mentioned a little while ago, and it should be, because that issue did indeed divide the community on the front end. People were concerned about aspects of it in the neighborhood. But I think in large part because, again, the foundation of goodwill, the tradition of listening that we had shown for so long, when we went out to the neighborhoods with Ms. Dillard and Ms. Fleming's leadership as well, we sat down with people whose lives would be directly affected by that decision. And it took a lot of talk, in fact, but at the end of the day, just the fact we could get in the room and talk said a lot. And an issue like that of such critical importance, this city did what a lot of people initially said we would not be able to do. We actually won over at least most of the neighborhood affected by that stadium. And now that has been seen as such a good thing. I would say more recently, this community faced some other issues where the goodwill and spirit of collaboration came into play that we could draw on. And that who knows what the issues in the future will be. Coming up, I see this a very big decision to appoint a new police chief for Greenville. Now, in some communities, that decision, toward the end of the day, when you get down to finals, can be a tough decision. People immediately line up on different sides. I don't want us to be that kind of city. I want us to be the city, again, that has the confidence and support of all the community that can come together to look at things as objectively as possible and make the right decisions. So I appreciate very much from whence we come, the decisions made in the past, the collaborative spirit of collaboration we've always had. We have something worth a lot. It's gold, if you will. And I attribute it very much to the leadership of many of these people behind me here and what they mean for the city. And I, as mayor, don't want to see that go away. One of the hallmarks of our city is listening. We take a long time sometimes to make decisions because we go on a listening trail, if you will. Neighborhood associations, public hearings, we listen very closely. And we don't move ahead unless we have everybody on board on critical decisions. That's what Representative Dillard said so well. I'll just reiterate it. That's the Greenville way. Thank you.
And so after 5 public hearings and the majority of people telling us that they were not in favor or just posing questions about why moving to nonpartisan, I say to my fellow council members, when you know better, do better. So why are we moving forward without input? And so when we talk about the future of Greenville City Council, when we talk about the future of the city of Greenville, there are some important factors that need to be played. I have before me 2 letters from the civil rights attorney from the Southern Coalition for Social Justice. One dated March 3rd, so I ask again, you know better, do better. And another one dated for today, April 28th, and there are copies for the media that will be passed out. One of the main issues that comes to play from this letter are 2 important issues. One is representation, minority representation on council, and my colleagues have talked about that. And so we say most cities, 77% of the cities in the United States are nonpartisan. So I ask you to look at the other 6 municipalities in Greenville County. As Representative Dillard has stated, the 2 major municipalities have 0 minority representation. Travelers Rest has 1 and Greer has 2. And so when we are looking at being the best city, the best place for the future, if we're talking about increasing voter turnout and having more candidates to the table, getting better input, why are we starting a process not listening to the people? Why are we starting a process not getting the input or at least going back to the table? In less than 48 hours from our 5th public hearing, the decision was made to move forward with the vote. We did not come back together and discuss how we would look at this. We did not come back together and discuss how we were going to educate the people. If we can't educate a majority of people to come to a public hearing, how do we expect them to understand the change in the voting process? This is irresponsible. And it's a huge disappointment in terms of how we move forward. And so I reference Georgetown City Council at the same time that we were considering moving forward, they decided that it was a decision that was too big for a small group of people to make the decision. And so they said no to nonpartisan elections, and they'll probably be taking that vote to a referendum for the people to vote. If this is good for Greenville, if this is good for City Council, why not let the citizens of Greenville make that decision instead of having a divided council? Right now we are divided, and I would say to anyone, I think we have, or at least up until this point, I thought that we had the best council. We listen to one another, we take each other's ideas into consideration, and we don't always agree. Because you won't always agree, that would be foolish to think that you do. But when you have citizens coming to you saying, how are you going to educate us? How are you going to ensure minority representation? And you don't listen to that voice, then I say that our process has failed. If we're not going to listen to the people, why drag them out and get them involved? Why have them take their time to voice their concerns and not move forward? And so I say to everyone, we are dividing the city. There is nothing that states that we have to move forward today. There is still time to mend some of the divisiveness that has taken place. There is still time. One of the things that Greenville does best is we have task force. We pull together committees. We get public input. From the very start, when I looked at the situation, I'm not in favor of nonpartisan, so I researched it from a standpoint of not moving forward. Other council members were in favor, and so when they researched it in a favor of moving forward. Not once did we have an independent person come in and say what's best for the city of Greenville. And so again, I say that it is irresponsible and it's reckless for us to move forward with such an issue. And so I think the Greenville News said it best. They started off and said that this makes sense. And so while the votes may be there to move forward, is it really worth dividing our community? They came back and said, you know what, barring widespread opposition, you should move forward. Well, there was widespread opposition, and therefore you should at least put a pause, do some research, and decide what's best before you